Mark Muggie Doo Leach is one of the best Hammond B3 players of our time, with an amazing history of over 12,000 live shows, and has performed live and appeared on albums crossing genres with the likes of rock and roll stars Jeff Beck, Peter Frampton, Greg Allman, Dick Dale, Eric Burden, blues icons Robert Lockwood, Stevie Ray Vaughan's Double Trouble, Taj Mahal, Anna Popovic, Bernard Allison, pop artists like Phoebe Snow and Jose Feliciano, and jazz with Bruce Hornsby and the Pastorius Brothers, all the way up to Frank Sinatra Jr. And of course, probably best known for a member of the Buddy Miles Express. Welcome to the show, Muggie.
Very good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So, we were talking the other day, and you tell me you've been really busy the last few weeks.
Indeed.
So, tell me, first of all, how you got the nickname.
Oh, Muggie Doo.
Yeah.
That was my brother's nickname for me when I was young, when he was hiding my things and taking my wallet and where's your Matchbox cars, Muggie Doo? So when he went to a place of temporary no return for quite a while, whenever he had to call me, I'd make him have to ask for Muggie Doo and collect calls, which he didn't appreciate, but the name just stuck after that.
That's cool. Okay, now, you are, of course, famous for your B3, but you didn't start with the B3.
Well, actually, if you could call it a start, I did start with the B3 because about an hour after I got home from the hospital when my dad had me at it, he didn't really particularly know much what to do, and my mother was in the bed for a month.
Oh, yeah?
And she told me about a week later, she heard him down there saying, just hold your finger here, just hold that one note while I play this.
Oh.
And I pretty much learned how to play from when I was very little, standing on the pedals and playing the keys, but that were out of my sight. But my grandmother was a very good Hammond player. My dad was a good Hammond player. My mother could play, so I was always around it. But when I very first started gigging out, I was playing trumpet.
And do you do that at all anymore?
Just little bits for fun on occasion, but I've always had a 15-minute lip, and after 15 minutes, my high notes just and it's the same now as it was back then. But I was far more impressed with the Hammond organ, especially when I was young. Once I realized how loud it got when you turned the Leslie up.
Yeah, and you're holding that thing around though a little harder than the trumpet.
Oh yeah, I've carried a full-size B3 and one or two Leslies, probably I think since I was 14 years old, and that's probably what half keeps me in shape though.
Yeah, for sure. Now, so you were given lessons by Duke Ellington?
Yeah, actually, my grandmother took me to a Duke Ellington concert at Admiral King High School in Lorain, Ohio. And when the show was over, she's like, "Are you ready to go back and meet him?" And I told her, "You can't go back there and meet him. That's Duke Ellington."
Yeah.
She's like, she told me, "Grandma knows Duke Ellington."
Wow.
And apparently she'd known him for years, and he ended up staying 2 nights at my grandmother's house. And I refused to go home with my parents, and I stayed there with him. When I went backstage to see him, I shook hands with him, and he flipped my hand over from side to side, and he looked at it, and he said, "You play keyboards, don't you?"
Wow.
And but back then, the only thing that was called an organ or a piano, I'd never heard it called a keyboard.
Right.
But from there on in, it's like, yeah, I'm a keyboard player.
Yeah, you certainly are. Actually, one of the things that is noticeable when you're watching you on the stage, you're entertaining, you're certainly fun to watch. Is it as much fun for you as it appears?
Oh yeah, I'm having a ball with that instrument. That or drums, I really enjoy playing.
Yeah?
It's no different than when I was 10 years old.
Well, that's good. So
I do. I've gotten older and I sit down now. I'd always played standing on one leg with one leg up on the volume pedal.
yeah.
But as I get older, that leg doesn't seem to be as willing to do that for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tough sometimes. So, we mentioned Buddy Miles at the beginning, and of course you're famous pretty much for being with him for a number of years. Was the first time you were with him in 1994?
1995, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I played my first show with Buddy was at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was a Return of the Band of Gypsies show with Jimmy's cousin on bass, Henry Brown, and Ricky Hendricks, who's married into the Hendricks family, and the guitarist. And it was a pretty interesting situation how it went down. I was Ricky Hendricks' musical director, and one night after a rehearsal, Ricky asked me would I like to do the Return of the Band of Gypsies with Buddy Miles, and I was immediately yes, of course. But as far as I knew, there'd never been an organ with the Band of Gypsies, so I figured it was not really anything that was going to happen. And a couple of days later, I got a call from Buddy's manager, who told me, Buddy's playing down in Pittsburgh 3 hours from you in a few days. What do you think about picking him up and letting him stay at your house until the concert? And that was how it all began. I had met Buddy for a second when I was 9 years old at the Public Auditorium in Cleveland. And he had walked past me and he kind of ran his hand through my hair as he walked by and said, "How you doing, little buddy?" And many years later, once I was his band leader, I brought that story up to him, and he remembered it fully. And he was like, "Yeah, I was kind of messing your fro up because it looked better than mine." But he had astonishing memory, and he was a walking historian about the music industry. But yeah, it wasn't many things he ever forgot.
Yeah, I know you mentioned one night that you still miss him.
Oh yeah, so most of the people that knew Buddy well, whenever we speak on the phone, that's what we talk about. It doesn't nothing current events. Everything's about Buddy.
Yeah.
He was a one of a kind personality, and I learned so much from him. So much musically, arrangements, business. He was an astonishing person. He passed away at 60 years old, and he was first to say, I got mine. I got everything I could get in 60 years. He left at peace.
Well, that's good. Now, and for those of you out there who don't know, when you're talking about the Band of Gypsies, of course, that was Jimi Hendrix Band, and Buddy was with him before he was with you.
Right.
So now you guys toured a lot when you were with him.
Yeah, and for probably the first 10 years, probably about the first 10 years, we were doing 200 to 280 days a year. We were on the road most of the time. Most of the tours were 75 to 80-day tours, and then we'd be home 15 to 20 days and right back on the road. I had just married my wife two months before I met Buddy, and we had only known each other for 2 months before that, so I had to come home after Tulsa and tell her I'm going on the road with Buddy Miles, who she had never heard of. She was not familiar with musicians from that era. And I remember her calling me 2 months later, 2 months out on the road. She's like, I can't even remember your face. I have to look at a picture.
Oh, boy.
But her and Buddy became the absolute best of friends. And till the time he passed, they were very, very tight.
Now, another one that I didn't mention in the beginning on purpose was a fellow Canadian, Colin James.
Oh, yeah. Colin James. We did with Bernard Allison, we did the legendary Blues Cruise together.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's on the In the Mix album with myself and Bernard Allison. And my very first band leader from the Fabulous Techniques from our teenage years is Bernard's bass player now.
Huh. Wow.
Who is basically the only musician I know that has a full pension from Ford and is back on the road touring.
Wow. There certainly is I don't know if it's a small community, but it's certainly well connected. Every time I talk to someone, they know everybody, and you certainly have a lot of connections. The other,
Many thanks to Buddy.
yeah. Well, you're pretty busy still, and you're pretty much in demand. I see you played on J.P. Soares' Full Night in Memphis album. You did 3 tracks with him.
Right. That was a lot of fun.
And
He's a fellow Floridian with me down here.
yeah, and he's also busy. And I saw Matt Schofield the other night, and he mentioned he has jammed with you, and he also he finished the show with Them Changes.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great.
So
That was one of the best things about going to work was playing Them Changes and Down by the River with Buddy Miles.
yeah, you did a fabulous job. You still do a fabulous job. I love it when you guys jam and do it.
Yeah, I always say it's a great instrument to beat up on.
Yeah, you kind of remind me of John Lord because he's always bashing his around, or he was anyway.
Oh yeah, I've basically all of the great organ players from that era. That's pretty much the only thing I did from the time I was probably 6 years old until 20 was try to learn how to emulate all of what they did. Brian Auger, Jimmy Smith, Chester Thompson from Tower of Power, who was a big influence on me when I was growing up. But when before 10 years old, I listened mainly to all the swing artists, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, all of the groups from back then, Duke Ellington, and so it was kind of a little twist as soon as I got a little taste of some funky music, it was like, oh my goodness, I think I've got to make a change.
Yeah, you certainly have. Now, you were telling me that you've got a new album coming out. So, what's it called? Who's on it? When can we get it? Where can we get it?
It's going to be midsummer before it comes out. A lot of things I do, I'll record a lot of material with my local guys, and I pay them just for the basic tracks, and then I'll replace the tracks with a lot of the name artists I know. Mickey Free is going to play on a few of them. He's a Grammy Award winner from the music from Eddie Murphy movies, and he was a guitarist in Shalimar. Very popular. He's also, if you're familiar with the Chappelle Show, he's Mickey Free from the Prince basketball games with the shirts and the skins, and he's quite a character. I'm his musical director now, and we've got some things coming up later in this year, and I believe we're doing a festival in Australia this year, which will be my first time below the equator. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you specifically about him because you had mentioned him the other night, and so he's on this album. He's going to be on the album.
Yeah, he's going to be on at least 2 cuts, and I'm hoping he's not working now, but I'm hoping to have Tommy Shannon on a couple of songs on here, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it or not, but I wanted to have him and Chris Layton I did an album with them, with Buddy called The Bluesberries, with Rocky Athos from Black Oak, Arkansas, and it's my favorite album I've ever recorded on. I would love to get Tommy and Chris back in on this album.
Yeah, no, Chris has been with Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Right.
And you mentioned that Tommy's not playing?
To the best of my knowledge, the last couple of people I've talked to, I've lost Tommy's number, so I've got to get back in touch with him. But somebody that I know is pretty close in Tommy's world said that his Parkinson's has really been giving him trouble. But
really,
I don't know that for a fact. That's just hearsay. And I'm hoping that he can throw down on a couple of the songs on the album.
Yeah.
And the album is called Masterpiece, with peace spelled as peace in the world.
Right. And you writing it all?
Yes.
And
there's a few songs on the album that I play all the instruments on, and a few songs that have the rhythm section of Doug Johns and Chris Seja, who are absolutely astonishing players to work with. I worked with both of them for 16 years when I lived in Ohio, and 2 of the best players I've ever played with.
Really? That's saying something.
Hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned the name of the album in the middle of summer, and who's going to release it? Are you going to do that yourself?
It's probably going to be released through Mysterium Music. That's one of the people that works with us with Mickey Free, and we're just getting everything designed now. Most of the album is recorded. The root recordings are all recorded. So now I'm just slowly working into the business end of it now, as of about a week ago.
So the writing's done?
All the writing's done.
Yeah, that's a big part. I was just going to say you mentioned Chris Layton too, and I know that Chris Pete, JP's drummer, was thrilled when he got some compliments from Chris Layton one night. So those guys still carry a lot of weight.
Oh yeah, Chris Pete is a monster in his own. When we were doing the Bluesberries album, we had a couple-hour break, and I was sitting and talking to Chris, and Chris said, "Yeah," he said, "I didn't really know anything about the blues before I got with Stevie Ray."
Oh,
He said, "Yeah, I was a fusion drummer."
yeah.
I'm like, "You're kidding." And it's like I was a fusion organ player for a long time. And about 3 minutes later, we were in the studio for the next 2 hours, just nothing but fusion.
Wow.
And that was a really memorable experience. And he's an incredible fusion drummer, even though he hadn't been playing it for years.
Yeah, he's very good. We ran a festival in Canada for about 20 years, and we had JP up a few times. Of course, Chris was there, and one of the absolute all-time great performances with him and Sam Harrison. I don't know if you know Sam. He's from Montreal.
I'm not sure.
He played with the Paul Delorier band up there, and the two of them were just amazing.
Wow. What festival was that? Just out of curiosity.
It was called the Canal Bank Shuffle. It was in Niagara, Thorold to be specific. It has actually started up again. I was on the committee with a bunch of other people, and the guy who actually started it passed away, and COVID, so we missed a couple of years, but it's back. So maybe we'll get you up to Canada.
Yeah, that would be excellent. We've done a few shows up that way with Mickey Free, and it would be great to get back up with Mickey too.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So that's the other question. Are you planning on touring with this album, or?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it in the near future because of my schedule's really busy, and I think it would be kind of hard to get it lined up and have it happen with everything else that's going on. I've got quite a few things coming up with Mickey, and I play with a tribute group down here that's a Bruce Springsteen tribute called the Boss Project, and the work with them has picked up so incredibly that I'm like, well, as you can see in the last week, I'm pretty hard to stop and get a hold of.
Yeah.
They've really been keeping us busy, and really fun group to play with. When I got with the group, I planned on playing a couple of shows, and this is my 10th year with them.
Wow.
And it's a pretty lucrative project, and it's a very good band. And plus, everybody's been doing it for 10 years, so they've got their act together on it.
Yeah, so you were way ahead of the curve because tribute bands are all the rage now. I'm somewhat concerned about that because I'm wondering where the new music's going to come from. What are your thoughts?
Right. I think about that too. I don't know. I also wonder, is there ever going to be some legal ramifications that put a halt to tribute bands also? But it does seem like a lot of the artists are actually getting behind their tribute bands, which is a little different from what I worried about it being.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I've given that some thought. But there are so many new artists steadily coming out though. But the tribute business is a lot more lucrative than most of the regular gigs that are happening now.
Yeah, we've talked. I think I've talked about that with just about everybody. It's certainly on their mind. Now in Canada, they're looking at maybe putting a limit on or at least increasing the amount of money that's paid to the artist because it's not right that the Spotify and so on get the bulk of the funds when there's no reason why the artist shouldn't get it.
Absolutely. No, that's a large problem in this business. It's basically kind of a on the musicians, on the artists that are recording and putting them on Spotify, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can turn that around too, hopefully.
Indeed.
So, I won't keep you much longer. What do you think you'd like to get out there to people listening?
Well, mainly to keep listening and keep listening to original music. There's such a large market of music out there, and there's a good share I'm not very crazy about, but there is a lot of, especially like college age players, that are really putting out some good music now. And I went through about a 10, 12-year period where I just pretty much gave up on the radio because music just was not that interesting to me. But I noticed a lot of these college radio stations, they're playing their college artists, and some of them are excellent. And I'm also really glad to see that a lot of the older musicians like myself are still staying fully active and fully touring. And I've been at it since I did my first show in 1963, and it has basically exponentially got busier all the way along. And I spent a long time on the road with years ago doing the Holiday Inn and Ramada and Sheraton circuits, and where you're there for a week to 19 weeks. And I've actually played in places long enough that when we go to remove my organ, it's stuck to the stage from drinks getting spilled and things. But I kind of really enjoy a different venue every night.
Yeah. Well, I can't see you not being in demand. You're one of those guys who, you're maybe a hired gun, but your peers know who you are. You're the kind of guy that they all want in the band. You certainly play with enough of the greats. Your resume is outstanding, and your history is also. So you certainly got a lot to be proud of, but I think you've got a ways to go yet.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for a whole lot more than what I've done so far. But like I say, Buddy opened a lot of doors, and there's a lot more opportunities now. I always looked at it as Buddy was the door at the end of the hall, and once you were allowed in the hall, you were allowed in every door.
Yeah. Well.
And for a long time, I could go to concerts with just my business card and just ask them to send it back to somebody in the band, tell them Buddy's band leader wanted to come see the show, and you were in. And we have many things to thank him for. Him and Robert Lockwood Jr. were definitely a game changer for me.
Yeah, and certainly two different backgrounds, but as I mentioned, you've got such a mix of genres there. You've played with just about every style going.
Yeah. So far, so good. I'd like to mention that everywhere that I've ever gone when Buddy was alive, everybody sat down and listened to what Buddy had to say, and I mean everybody. Name artists, and any name artist that was out there, folded hands in the lap listening to what Buddy had to say. Until I took Buddy to Robert Jr. Lockwood's house, who was Robert Johnson's stepson.
Right.
And Buddy sat down in his chair and folded his hands in his lap and basically listened for 2.5 hours straight with very, very little to say. He had so much respect for Robert.
Yeah, that would be something for sure.
Yeah, Robert had major history. Robert's been to shows on horseback. They gambled for a hay penny. If you had a penny, you were in for 10 plays.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that must have been something. You certainly got. What about writing a book? You certainly got enough stories and history.
Very, very close to the end of the book.
Really?
Yes, and it was difficult. I'm not bragging about it, but I had done so much over the years. It was so hard to put things in order and when things actually happened and who was there. And then it occurred to me, instead of chapters, I call it an autobiography because I've collected antique cars my whole life, since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And every chapter is a different car, because each car I can remember everywhere I went, who got in, who got out, what I did, what shows I played.
Wow, that's very cool.
And so that's I would say I'm probably within about 7-8 months of getting the first autobiography out.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me.
Well, that's a great approach. I could see people loving that.
Yeah, that helped. That was an instant memory improver.
Well, that's good. Well, I can say that you mentioned you didn't want to brag, but you certainly have the right to do that. And I've talked to you a few times now, and you're certainly a humble guy, considering your tremendous history and success. So I just want to thank you for being part of this. Really appreciate it.
More than welcome. I'm sorry it took a little while to get to me.
Things happen, but we got her done. Now, hopefully I don't have any glitch in my equipment at this end, or I might be calling you back. How's that?
No problem. No problem.
All right. So hopefully
All right.
hopefully we'll see you soon, jamming somewhere or with the band.
Very good. I'll shoot you some info on what's coming up.
I would really appreciate that. Thanks very much.
All righty.
All right. Take care.
You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.